immediately forgot. All right. Hello, my name is Ira. All right. I was born in Marion, Virginia, outside in the country, and I lived there for 2 years. The only thing I remember was eating mini wheats in our kitchen. Then I moved to Harrisonburg. In Harrisonburg, I played a lot with my sisters and myself. I had a great imagination and could sit forever with Legos and Lincoln Logs. I played a lot of the bean game, which is just rolling dice and counting beans. It was pretty fun. Mainly kept to my family, and I didn't really have any friends outside of my family. K through 6. Started school at public Spotswood Elementary School. And I think it's essential to describe myself at this point. I was a weird little fat kid. I have a large head now, so just imagine my head now on a little kid. That's about Ira right there. I also let my mother pick out my clothes and chose my own attire. Everyone was talking about how you're supposed to match, so I would match my red pants with my red shirt. Turns out matching has nothing to do with actually matching colors. So as you can imagine, I got bullied a lot, and that wasn't a lot of fun. A particular story I remember, my favorite story, when my mother decided to make t-shirts for our youth group. The Bible group was Awana, and the older kid's name was TNT. My mother made shirts for the whole youth group. Unfortunately, the "and" looked more like an I, so the shirt spelled TIT. I wore the shirt to school, and it was just open season. Man, I was looking for the shirt recently and I could not find it. Anyways, I came home crying. It was a mess. And what makes things even worse is I didn't turn the other cheek. I bullied the 4 people I could. And I remember not wanting to walk to school with my sister because I was too cool for her. Still hate myself for that. The bullying made me a shy person and hurt my self-esteem. I started off elementary school and an extrovert, but I was slowly bullied into myself and closed up. I also participated in swim team. And swim team hurt my self-esteem because I was always last and fat. And I had to wear a Speedo. But now I can swim, so I think it was worth it. Dyslexia was an issue that I began to struggle with in elementary school. I loved stories and I could comprehend what was going on, but I could not read or spell. In a parent-teacher conference, my teachers commented on how I would substitute words I couldn't read with vocabulary several times higher than my reading level. She said, "He's smart, but somehow he's just not getting it." Then I had 2 important teachers. The first was Miss Martin. She whipped me into shape, and with enough repetition, I finally started reading. The second was Mrs. Medley. She offered to give me private spelling lessons. It was awful, and I hated them. But looking back, I'm glad it happened. I'm a bad speller now, but I was a lot worse. Good move, parents. She taught me for 5 years, from 3rd grade to 7th, and I improved from a 3rd grade level to a 6th grade level, which isn't that impressive considering it took me 5 years of private lessons to do that. One day during a session, she said something along the lines of, "Ira, you're a smart kid. Why can't you spell?" I was like, I don't know. I asked my mom, and she said that I might have dyslexia. So I've rolled with that ever since. It's not a huge deal in high school because of spell check, with the exception of Spanish 1. I found that class to be harder than physics and calculus. But life's all about learning how to function with your problems, and I figured that one out. On to 7th grade. There are some big changes in 7th grade. The first is that I moved schools. It was a good move, and I found it easy to make friends because almost everyone in 7th grade was either weird or fat, or both. So I fit right in. Just look at Joe. Alrighty. And people were so much just nicer at EMHS. I got invited to a sleepover at Jack's house the very first Friday of school. The second thing that happened is I started piano lessons. I hated piano, and I did not want to play, but my mother had other plans. After a while, it started to grow on me. By the end of 7th grade, I had opened myself back up, and with all my esteem back. I stopped getting bullied because I fit in and had friends. Jack, Xander, Neil, and Joe. Faith-wise in 7th grade, I don't remember my baptism because I was really young when it happened, but around this time, I do remember comprehending what I had signed up for, and I agreed to the terms. I don't really remember 8th grade. On to high school. By 9th grade, I had figured out who I was, and I didn't make the mistake of letting other people control that. A lot of people struggled with self-esteem in early high school, and just in life in general, but I had all figured out by 7th grade. Compared to my earlier years, high school was a breeze. Academics. At my old school, my friends called me a nerd for getting on the A-B honor roll. I moved schools, and Xander called me stupid for getting a singular B on a test. So I upped my game and decided to get A's. It wasn't that much harder to improve my grades. Classes that stood out would be Myron's biology, Cranston English, and Miss Ross history. Myron's was well taught, and I knew exactly what to expect on the test. Miss Cranston was a memorable character, and Miss Roth was easy to talk to. A thing I struggled with, faith-wise, in 9th grade is my pride. I was proud because I knew a lot about the Bible. My mother drilled basic head knowledge into my head, and I'm thankful for it, but it made me proud. I had the mindset that because I could list all the books of the Old Testament, I was a better Christian than someone who can't. This is something I still struggle with and have to constantly remind myself that there's more to God than head knowledge. Went to Florida without Jack for E-term, started tennis, and took a couple lessons and got relatively decent at it. Still enjoyed piano and started to like it. I also started to take up viola. It's frustrating to start a new instrument, but the viola part is never that hard, and there's no E string. I found it tolerable. All right. 10th grade was my favorite year of high school. I remember this as the golden age of my high school career. Still did all the hard stuff and classes and got all A's. Classes that stood out would be chemistry and sight reading. Chemistry was a challenge, but I enjoyed it. Sight reading is just straight out useful, and I use it every time I sing a hymn. I still had strong faith and didn't really have any troubles. The only thing that would stand out would be some focus on the family videos my mom brought to my attention. It brought up some good points about God. Cross country in 10th grade was my favorite sports season. My best time was my first, and I became slower and slower as time progressed throughout the season. I also met the infamous Jacob Eggert. And our friendship formed immediately. 2 weeks in, and we were close friends. I had a lot of fun not running. Nothing beats the time when Jacob took a dump in the Jehovah's Witness building, or the time where Xander never ran for the entire season, or the time when Miss Stuckey caught us crawling out of the drain pipe under the curb of Had a blast on Discovery. Arches was by far the best part, and a close second would be getting to know some of the juniors, such as Drake, Leah, and Ryan. Just juniors at that time. People bond when they're in close proximity. I loved traveling and suffering with my friends. I'd say Discovery was my favorite part of 10th grade. Less than a week after Discovery, I embarked on a biking trip with my dad. It's called the Continental Divide, and it's a bike route from Banff, Canada to the Mexican border. We did half of it for a total of 1,600 miles. It was awful, but somehow I remembered it fondly. The bad days kind of fade and turn into a good story. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad that my dad made me finish. Got my wisdom teeth out and made some new friends. Still an A student and took the hard classes. Classes that stood out would be research methods and pre-calculus. The hardest academic assignment I ever got was Ross Shank's identity paper. That thing was a beast, and hands down the hardest thing I've ever done for school. B-verbs, they're just awful. This was the lowest point of my faith in high school. I never lost faith, but it was just a low point. The reason being that our church wasn't feeding our family spiritually, and every car ride on the way home, my family would complain. I started to question why we even went to church. In 11th grade, I tried out and made touring choir. I did it because it's kind of the thing to do around here, and I had a lot of friends trying out. It surprised me in two ways. The first being the commitment level. I never expected that I would have to give up so many of my Sunday afternoons. The second thing that surprised me was the power of music. To some people, a song is infinitely more power than the best of sermons. Our amateur touring choir could bring an entire audience to tears. Personally, I find it hard to focus on the songs and often zone out, but I enjoyed being part of the ministry. We also went to Europe with touring choir, and I could probably do an entire presentation on just that. The trip rivaled Discovery. If you're on the line whether or not to do touring choir, just do it for the international trip. Once again, the close proximity to others bonded the group and created some fond memories. I felt like the trip was 3/4 of touring choir. I really started to pick up piano in 11th grade. I did an hour every day, and I tried out for concerto, which I got. Tennis was awesome that year because I finally got seated, and I got to know a few non-touring choir people. Drake, Casey, Riley, and Kingman. 12th grade. Academics. I consider this my least ambitious year. Although I still had a hard schedule and kept all A's, classes that stood out would be calculus, physics, and mass media. Mass media is an interesting class that I'd recommend even though it's work. Calculus and physics weren't unbearably difficult and kept my attention. Also, CFL as a senior was great, with only guys and Amanda. We moved churches, and I love the change. It's nice to have actual people in your youth group, and I started to feel spiritually fed. Although I still miss some of the people at my old church, I'm glad for the change. Another good thing is that I took Mr. Stutzman's philosophy class. I found that to be really good, and even though a lot of discussions went over my head, it was really good. If you find your intelligence getting in the way of your religion, take that class. First and foremost, extracurriculars. First and foremost, birding became a huge part of my life. I even tried to start a birding club with Cranston, but who really wants to wake up early for birds? I did cross country again and made some new and younger friends. I also really started cracking down on my piano senior year. I had a competition with 2 memorized pieces and a concerto to practice. For about 6 weeks, I was practicing 3 to 4 hours a day until my fingers formed calluses, while juggling senior play. But it was some fun, and I enjoyed the challenge. I did senior play, and despite having no prior experience, I managed to get more lines than almost everyone. To be honest, I almost quit several times, but I'm glad I finished it. I got to know a bunch of the seniors, especially Ellie and Rachel. I did touring choir again and met a lot of the junior guys and connected with some of the seniors like James Gandy, Lucas, Elijah Stewart. It wasn't the English trip, but it was something special. We also had the privilege to play, Ain't No Grave. That song is like my all-time favorite, and it's something special. Last couple years, I went skiing with the Dutt and Hutchison family. It was a relaxing and fun time to get to know Colin, his brothers, Riley, and Paige. On to my thank yous. Mom, thanks for teaching me all I know about God. You drilled it into my head, and it mostly stuck. You're the one who sets the example of what loving God looks like. I've always been a mama's boy, and it's going to be hard next year without you. Thanks for taking sincere interest in my daily activities and foolery. Thanks for being a tiger mom and forcing me to play piano. Thanks for showing me what a work ethic looks like. Dad, thanks for a second opinion. I've been asked, how do I turn out to be such a fool when my parents are so normal? I tell them it's my dad's genetics. You always love a bad pun and a good potty joke. Thanks for taking me on Ride the Divide and making me stick it out. I look forward to finishing the ride. Thanks for showing me what a Christian father looks like and how to love God. Abigail, you're the oldest and quirkiest of the Millers. You never cease to surprise me with your creativity and your cluelessness. I'm so happy I had the privilege to watch the woman you've become. The thing with siblings is that you never quite realize how much you love them till they're gone. I personally experienced this when you left for Rosedale. It's good to have you back for the summer. Thanks for looking out for me and setting the bar. Eve, I can't put you into words. I tried writing your thank you 4 times, and I cried each one. I still have nothing that comes even close. I guess all I have to say is that I love you, and I'll miss you next year. Ezra, it's been an honor sharing a room with you. I'm going to miss my little brother. It's up to you to remind the school of what the Millers are capable of. Lest they forget our family name. I pass the torch of foolery to you, which you already bear so well. You've challenged me in faith by reading your Bible every night. It keeps me on track and means a lot. Thanks for your participation in my foolery and for making me laugh. You're a funny dude. I've enjoyed watching you grow up. Anna, you're the youngest, but certainly not the least. If anyone in this family has a shot at becoming the president, it's you. You're the most organized, on-time girl this family has ever seen, or boy. You always complain that Ezra's better than you, but Ezra's not a fierce, fast, funny, ambitious A+ student. Own up to that, and don't get so caught up in your own weaknesses that forget your true strength. Thanks, everybody. I wouldn't want to do high school anywhere else. I'll be attending Messiah College next year and plan on a double major in piano, performance, and chemistry. Thank you for coming.
Time for questions or clarifications if you have them. All right. You said that in relation to your faith, you moved beyond head faith to something bigger. What do you mean by that? I thought this one up when I read the paper.
Having a relationship with God is more than knowing about God. And I think everybody struggles with that question. For me personally, I'd say the biggest thing is praying, having quiet time, and recording your quiet time. That's like the big relationship thing. You know, reading your Bible, that too, but that's more head knowledge. But praying, having quiet time, and recording that quiet time, that's where you really feel God.